Okay, hello again to all. This will be my fourth video, I believe, regarding the spider prime miracle of the Quran. This will, I'm sure this for this fourth one, it will be confirmed once and for all that all of those earlier prime patterns regarding the spider miracle of the Quran cannot just be mere coincidence anymore. Okay, the most important thing is I inform regarding this the earlier videos regarding the spider miracle of the Quran is that for chapter 29, the spider, we already know the importance with the letter ta and number 8 because the two word spider of the Quran itself also have exactly 8 letters and is made up of 8 different letters, and the eighth one being the letter ta itself. So chapter 29, the spider itself, the very first letter ta, once again the very first letter ta of this chapter, which is at verse number 2, which I have shown here, is once again there will also be the 8 different letter used from the start of the verse. Okay, the first letter ta of chapter 29, the spider, will also be the 8 different letter used if from start of the verse, while the last letter ta of this chapter 29, the spider, which is at the second last verse of the chapter of verse 68, the letter ta shall again be the 8 different letter used if from the start of the verse. Okay, and of course the spider verse itself, which is verse 41, shall also be exactly like this. Where is that? Okay, the spider verse itself, which is verse 41, shall also be exactly like this. The letter ta shall also be the 8 different letter used if from start of the verse, and at the same time this spider verse 41 shall also be the only verse of the chapter that we have exactly 8 letter ta in total. Okay, so beside the letter ta being the 8 different letter used from start of the verse, there shall also be exactly 8 letter ta. And of course there are already many prime pattern by making use of the letter ta of this spider verse and also from the first word spider till the last word spider itself, by using the object value of the word smallest to biggest, and then the word the 7 words with the letter ta, which is the first one, which is this one, and then the object value of the 7 words with the letter ta, because they are one word with 2 letter ta, where the object value with a range in order will be prime, and a range biggest to smallest will be prime, and so many more. So it turns out there is only one chapter of the Quran that shall also have its letter ta exactly the same as chapter 29, in which its first letter ta shall also be the 8 different letter used from start of verse, and its last letter ta shall also be the 8 different letter used from the start of verse, and it is chapter number 66. Chapter 66, Al-Tahrim. So it's also interesting that the Al-Tahrim, the Tahrim begins with ta also lah. But anyway, to show my what I'm trying to say is this is the first letter ta is this one. So it's actually the first letter ta is at verse number 1 of chapter 66. So it is also the 8 different letter from start of verse, while the last letter ta of this chapter, which is actually at verse 12, is the last verse also of the chapter, and the 8 letter ta, which is this one, shall also be the 8 different letter used from start of verse. So this is the only chapter that is like this, just like chapter 29, the spider. The interesting thing here is 66 is interesting. 66 is actually the exact object value of the word Allah itself. Okay, God in Arabic is Allah. So the basic word Allah itself, alif lam, is spelled as alif lam lam ha, or ALLH. Okay, it has an exact value of 66. This is everybody know, this is very famous. Okay, if we are to search for all inside chapter 66, if we are to search for all the word Allah with this exact value of 66, just like the Numbers chapter 66. So if we are to search for all the word Allah, alif lam lam ha, the four letter alif lam lam ha with exact value of 66, okay, inside this chapter 66, so I'm going to press selection. They will also be exactly inside 8 verses. As you can see, they will be inside 8 verses. Okay, so obviously this is very interesting because the number 8 again come to the picture. Okay. And now if we are to go to chapter 29 itself, chapter 29, we select only chapter 29, and we are going to search for all the word Allah with this exact value of 66. They will also be inside 29 different chapters, or 29, they will also be inside 29 verses. So just like the chapter 29, they will also be inside 29 verses. So obviously this is very interesting. Now, if we are to select these two chapter 29 and chapter 66. So once again, chapter 29 and chapter 66, they are very similar because their first and last letter ta of the chapter shall also be the 8 different letter used from the start of verse. These are the only 2 chapters of the Quran that are like this. So now, if I am to select chapter 66 and also chapter 29, only these 2 chapters, so I select, I'm going to search for all the word Allah with value of 66. Now they shall be inside 37 different chapters. Okay, because we already know earlier, 29 and 8 is 37, of course. Because chapter 29 will have 29 verses with Allah, while chapter 66 will have 8 verses with Allah. So 29 plus 8 is of course 29 plus 8 is of course 37. But the interesting thing here is I want you to look at this number 1088. 1088 is very interesting. Okay, it means that the total sum of the 37 verses. For example, the first one is verse number 3. The second one is verse number 5. So we add up all the verse number. The total sum will be 1088. 108 is very interesting because it is actually 8 times 8 times 17. So it's divisible by 8 2 times. So 8 times 8 times 17. 17 shall also be very interesting because these 37 verses, the 17 one, the number 17, shall also be the spider verse itself. As you can see, that means the spider verse 2941. So perfect. 1088 is equal 8 times 8 times 17. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.